Well, welcome everyone back to Prescription for Progress. We're here to have a conversation about the future of health technologies and particularly where AI, artificial intelligence, fits into all of this. I'm really delighted to be with all of you. I'm Raj Kumar. I'm the president and editor-in-chief of Devex. Many of us may have met in person when this event happened last year in San Francisco. Of course, we've moved it virtual, which is great because we get to reach so many more of you all over the world. And I really want to extend a warm welcome to you, and especially to my guest for this fireside chat, and Aerts, who is, of course, the head of the Novartis Foundation. And it's so nice to see you.
Nice to see you again as well, Raj.
And I'm excited to have this conversation with you. In fact, we have kind of an exciting announcement that you're going to hear during the course of this conversation. But let's just start on the substantive issue around AI and its role in health, especially in low and middle income countries, because this is an area of focus for you. I mean, you've had a long career at Novartis, and in the pharma industry before that, you've worked at the International Committee for the Red Cross. You have a lot of international experience, and you're arguing in some of what I've read and what you've said publicly that AI is a massive opportunity and it's something we can't miss. Why is that the case?
Yes, that's true that I say that indeed, because I feel AI is really the opportunity. The fact that we live in this era where that is existing is an opportunity for us to transform the way we think about delivering health and care around the world. And at the Novartis Foundation, we exactly have that mission, how we can advance data and digital-driven approaches towards improving population health. And the reason we do that, I think COVID has made it very clear for all of us. It's really a wake-up call that our health systems currently are not prepared enough, neither in high-income countries either. Also, everywhere in the world, we are not prepared to address all the burdens that are out there. So we have to transform our health systems and make them become from being that reactive health system, waiting for people to get sick before they do something, to become proactive, predictive, and eventually even preventative, so that the health system keeps the populations they serve healthy. And that's what we do at the foundation, in fact.
Yeah, I mean, during this pandemic, we've all become kind of armchair epidemiologists. We're constantly studying data and charts and looking at how things are done in different countries around supply chains. And I guess the question I have for you is why AI and why for low and middle income countries? I mean, if someone's listening to this and think, well, AI maybe makes sense in the richest countries, why does it make particular sense in countries that are much less resourced?
Well, I think countries with less resources have most to gain from AI, but also most to lose if they lag behind. And that was, in fact, what we found out in a report that we came out last year with the working group on the Broadband Commission for Sustainable Development, where we specifically looked with together with our partners of Microsoft and many other experts in that group, we looked at how AI is already having an impact around the world. And what we saw in that landscape of over 300 examples where AI already does have a tremendous impact, it's not only in high-income countries at all. And it's also not only limited to clinical care. We know AI can help radiologists or pneumologists or pathologists make better, faster, more accurate diagnosis based on images. This we know in the clinical care, and it can help us standardize care and all these things. But what we saw is that it has a tremendous impact on population health. In fact, AI was the first discovering this unusual cluster of pneumonias in China, who discovered that COVID was a blue dot, an AI-driven motor, if you may. AI has tremendous impact on how fast and which way you can discover and develop new drugs, so new therapeutic options. During COVID as well, there was a screening of everything that already is on the market. Which one of these drugs could potentially have an effect on COVID? Everything was screened with AI, and benevolent AI came up with one drug that was on the market for rheumatoid arthritis that is now used in the treatment of COVID. Next to that, AI and patients use it a lot in the chatbots or other patient-facing solutions that are out there. There's this fantastic example from China, an insurance company, Ping An Good Doctor, they call it. And they want to provide every family in China with a doctor, with a health record, and with a health management plan. And they do that with delivering 24/7 hours in internet hospitals, internet health centers, and internet pharmacies. They deliver 1 billion consultations per day. Can you imagine what a response this is to a burgeoning healthcare need in Asia, for example, with the increasing aging population also?
Sure.
So there's massive examples of how AI already has an impact. And the last big use case we saw is on how it can optimize the work flow in health systems. You can automate your staff planning, you can automate your supply planning. So this was also instrumental in the beginning of the COVID pandemic for better planning of the protective equipment and the supplies, for example. So all of these elements already are there. So we need to help countries in low income settings to tap into that potential and advance on their readiness to deploy it in their health system.
So how do we do that? What are the gaps? Is it that there's not enough data? You know, of course, connectivity is growing dramatically, even in low and middle income countries. People, you see them with cell phones everywhere. Is it that there's not enough data? Is it that government regulations aren't in place, so we can't protect the privacy of individual patients? Or what are we actually missing? Is it funding? What are the gaps you've identified?
Well, Raj, it's all of the above, if you may. Yeah? So we found that there's 6 core areas that we distilled that from this landscape analysis on what is out there already. 6 core areas. So it's not only about data and infrastructure, contrarily to what people would think. You need good data and you need connection. Of course, you need connection, and still half of the world is not connected. So that has to be fixed, absolutely, to not create more inequity. But data and infrastructure is only one of the core areas. The main or the first one is the people and the workforce. So digital and data science expertise is really lagging behind in the whole world. So we need to upskill the digital skills, but also the data science capabilities of all of our workforce, but also all of the students currently in formation. And we need to help them to get better in that area. Another area is, like you mentioned, that governments need to make sure that the data and the solutions can be used safely and keep people safe. So you need the governance and the regulatory systems, you need the funding, but you also need a design of your AI solutions that is really centered around an existing priority need. If you come with a well-intended solution that does not respond to a need on the ground, it will never get to scale. So it has to be needs driven and having the people at the center. And the last area was that you need very strong partnerships, public-private partnerships, obviously, but also between sectors. And the government has to have that coordination wall. Otherwise, you end up with a fragmented landscape again, like we saw in many low and middle income settings during the digital revolution. You saw that there's too many solutions out there and there's no real strategy behind it. So that is very essential, all of these.
I want to pick up on that last point about partnerships to talk about what I mentioned at the very beginning, which is kind of an exciting announcement that we're here to make on this stage, this virtual stage at Prescription for Progress. You know, as people may have be listening in and hearing you, Anne, talk about how it's a complex set of issues that we have to better understand and then coordinate and collaborate around. We at Devex have been, you know, our journalists have been covering these issues a lot, innovation and science and tech in the global health space. And so we're so proud and pleased to announce we're partnering with you at the Novartis Foundation to launch the Health Tech Dialogues Hub, which is really meant to be an open call to build a community of practice of people who can help solve some of the exact issues you're talking about. And our journalists will be covering it and bringing, you know, their analysis to the table to say what's working, what's not working, what the challenges and hurdles are, what the solutions are. So I'd love you to just say a word more about this. We're so excited to be doing it with you.
Yeah, we are equally excited, Raj, about this new Health Tech Dialogue Hub we launched together with Devex. We've seen that the AI solutions during COVID, but also before, they have been booming. And with that became a booming or a blooming interest from many different stakeholders, being the innovators themselves, but also the policymakers or the researchers or funders. All are interested to explore further how we can best build these solutions. So there's a keen appetite from this different group of community, if you may. There's a very big appetite to learn how can we best translate a complex problem into a great idea and then translate that into an impactful solution. And that's what a dialogue hub like this can do, because we saw that there's innovators out there who are working on their own. They have no idea that there is others working on similar problems, or that there's data available they could tap into, or researchers are trying to get access to the right questions or even to the right data. And if you combine that all in a dialogue hub, you get so many more opportunities for collaboration. So that is going to make a tremendous difference in the world if we can make that happen. And in fact, it builds on something we did last year. Last year, we started this off based on a foundation we built with the Harvard Global Health Institute, MIT, and us at the Novartis Foundation. We built the DASH webinars, and DASH stands for Data Science and AI in Health, where we brought together all these different people, the innovators, funders, researchers, and policymakers around the table in 15 webinars. And we explored how AI can really influence the response to COVID. And this was such a success. I cannot say how many thousands of people we had attending, but there came a real nice outcome out of that. So we want to now further build on that and make Devex, with Devex, we are going to make this a world-class dialogue hub, I'm pretty sure. So I'm very
sure
excited.
And really, this is a call to action to everyone who's watching this, that the whole point here is to make this an open hub. So we want to ask other partners to join us, people who are working in technology, global health leaders, policymakers, academics, people of all stripes who care about this issue of how we can use AI to make quality healthcare a reality for people, even in the lowest resource settings. And to understand the pitfalls and the challenges and deal with them now. We want your expertise, we want your ideas, we want your partnership. So this is an open call to you. We'll be posting in the notes a link to the site for this. You'll be hearing more about this from Devex and our colleagues here. We're really excited to bring our skill set and our community to this in partnership with the Novartis Foundation. Just delighted to be working with you on such an important issue, Anne.
For us as well. And I think really, if we can also use it as a kind of a exchange or a repository even of what worked well, you can apply many of the solutions that have been validated in one context into another one as well. So it's going to be really very rapidly impactful. And that's why I'm so excited about it.
Well, me too. Me too. Dr. Aerts, the head of the Novartis Foundation, thank you for your time. Thank you to everyone who's following along here with Prescription for Progress. It's great to be with you.
Thank you so much, Raj.